Hey everyone, Ben here, and welcome to what has probably been my worst week ever on iRacing. I am struggling big time in the GT3 challenge at Spa. Let me show you how the week's racing has played out. As we're already underway then, I've actually qualified pretty well for this one. I'm up in P5, although I've had a sluggish getaway, but unfortunately things would unravel very quickly. Right here, up through Eau Rouge and into Radillon, I've made a mistake. I did not get that right at all. I don't know why I shifted up a gear. I had to shift back down, and that has put me under threat all the way down the Kemmel Straight. And then a huge shunt up ahead would make things even worse. I have to come across to the left-hand side of the track, but of course I had a driver on the outside. There was an overlap. We came together, and that was essentially my race over. And unfortunately, this one really is on me. Yes, I had to take avoiding action from the accident up ahead, but I just didn't see the fact that I had a driver on my outside. So he ended up coming off badly from that too. And in the end, it's my responsibility for having just crept across the track, trying to anticipate that car coming back onto the racing line. And so we go again. We're into the second race of the week here, and once more I'm fighting in the top 5, and in fact I'm fighting very hard with the driver up ahead, Yassim Al-Thani. We're side by side into the chicane at the end of lap 2. He's able to defend that move. I've also got a driver behind putting on pressure, so this is a pretty intense battle. I'm going to try and force my way through here and get up into the top 4 and try not to lose contact with the top 3. This is going to be a really key opportunity for me here, because you can see I'm tucked into Al-Thani's slipstream as we're heading down the hill and getting ready for Eau Rouge and Radillon again. If I'm able to maintain this kind of distance, I should be able to close in and get past on the Kemmel Straight. Let's find out as we come up over the crest of the hill. And yes, look at that, I've got a huge overspeed here. I'm going to peel to the outside. We're side by side here. He's gone defensive to the inside, but I should have the momentum to carry this move. Oh, but we've made a little bit of contact. He squeezes me there to the outside of the track. We're side by side in the braking zone, and we're still side by side through the mid part of the corner here. He is fighting this out here with me. Now he's going to have the high ground on the inside, but he looks to resume the racing line, and we've come together. He squeezed me to the outside, and that was a really unfortunate end to that battle. Once though we'd cleared it, I was able to build a gap to the cars behind. Unfortunately, I'd lost a lot of time to the top 3, but then I would make a huge mistake. I was just carrying too much speed through Pouhon. I tried to keep my foot in, and boy did I pay a big price for that. There is a huge bump in the curb on the exit of Pouhon. If you hit that straight on, I now know you lift the car off the ground. That was enough to unsettle it completely, and I ended up in the barrier. Race 3 then, and as my iRating has dropped, so my relative pace has gone up. I actually qualified for this one on pole position, and we're actually joining the live action on lap 6. I've got a comfortable lead to the driver behind of around 2 seconds. This race win is mine for the taking, and I've been driving pretty well. As I said, my underlying speed is not the issue here this week. As we come round the hairpin, I am going to make another big mistake. I get up on the curb, and then for some reason, it's like the car never gripped up again. And for the first time all week, I lost the back end going into No Name Corner, and it caught me completely by surprise. You can see the car there just gets up on the curbing, and I don't know, maybe it was my mistake going in too aggressively into that corner, but it did just feel like the car never really got back to gripping in the same way once I'd slid it slightly through the previous corner, and it was a big price to pay. So we're on to race 4 then. This is my final race of the week. Once again, we're on pole position. The green lights are on. We're underway. Can I hold together this time and actually bring home a positive result? Well, we're going to find out. I'm going to be defending hard immediately from Diogo Almeida. I've popped up his onboard camera here so you can get a sense of just how close the battle is through this race. Here he goes, he's peeled to the outside then. I'm having to go defensive from the off here. I'm going to try and hold a nice tight line. Almeida thinks better of trying to go too wide on this opening lap. I'm pretty grateful for that in the cockpit, because not only am I leading this race and there's a pressure associated with that, but off the back of 3 really disappointing races, I'm feeling it even more intensely as we come through the hairpin for the first time since that last accident. Now into no name. I'm just hoping the car does grip up. It does. I'm able to get through cleanly, and as we come towards the end of lap 2, I'm about to set my first representative lap of this race. Myself and Almeida, we've already broken clear from P3, and my lap time there on the opening lap of the race, 2:19.3. That's pretty competitive really. In qualifying I was a couple of tenths quicker, but on race pace that's not bad at all. But it does show that Almeida is sticking with me and we're both running decent pace in this race, and that's how it would play out over the course of the next few laps. You can see there's barely a cigarette paper between us really. He's running within 0.3 seconds of me for the majority of this time, keeping the pressure on in every corner, just waiting to see if I make a mistake or if he can pressure me into running wide, carrying too much speed through a corner. As we've already seen in this Mustang, it doesn't take much for the car to become unsettled and ultimately to loop around either on braking or on throttle out of a corner. And so as we get back to the onboard action on lap 7, I am now beginning to feel like the end is getting nearer. We might just be able to bring this win home, but I can't relax for a second as we're up onto the Camel Straight again. Diogo Almeida is just 0.4 seconds behind, right in my slipstream. Now it's 0.3 seconds. I'm sticking to the racing line. I'm not going to defend fresh air. He's not close enough to make a lunge this lap, so I would only lose time by coming to the inside. I've got to trust that he's not going to do anything crazy behind. As we're coming through this next section of track, you can see the gap is now down to 0.2 seconds. As soon as that gets to within a tenth, then he is within striking range, and it's looking like this lap could be the pivotal one in the race so far. As we get through the hairpin again into No Name corner, just trying to carry as much speed as I can through this corner, use the runoff area there to the maximum without picking up an incident point, but he's still just 0.2 seconds behind into Puan. Then again, just trying to carry as much speed. I'm slightly wide through the corner. I learned my lesson. I'm not going to run it out wide on exit for fear of hitting that bump on the curb, and the gap is now down to 0.1 seconds, just a tenth of a second separating myself from Almeida. I am really beginning to feel the pressure in the cockpit here. I'm slow again through the left-hander there. You can see I'm just really losing a bit of crispness and precision through some of these corners as I'm looking in my mirror to see what Almeida behind is going to do. He didn't make a move through that section of track, but as we get onto the back straight here and get ready for Blanchimont and the final chicane, the gap is still just 0.3 seconds. So I've got to assume he might fancy a run down the inside into the chicane if he's able to close in just a little bit further. 0.2 seconds now the gap as we get ready for the chicane. I'm going to stick to the racing line here. He's not close enough to get alongside me into the braking zone, but look at the way he closes up in the braking zone there. He has to take to the outside line. He was actually a little bit braver on the brakes than I was, but he had to relent there and not ultimately stick the move around the outside. And as we get on to the next racing lap, you can see I've built the gap out just slightly to 0.6 seconds. We've probably got 1.5 racing laps left here. If I'm able to hold my nerve and just deliver a good lap and a half, then I think this win should be mine. But we're coming through then this next section of corners. Look at the TV cam. He's gone. Almeida is off. By the looks of things, he was out onto the gravel. What happened there then? Clearly Diogo Almeida pushing very hard to try and just squeeze that gap back in again, and he's just gone in too hot into the right-hander there. And surely now then, that's the breathing space that I just haven't had all race. And after a torturous set of sessions at Spa this week, I'm at least going to get a degree of redemption, take the checkered flag, and actually win a session here this race. Now, of course, I did get a bump to my iRating this time around, but I am in a lower split than I was at the start of this disastrous week. So, got to caveat the win with that. But nevertheless, after having such a series of disastrous races, I am relieved and pleased to come home with something from this week's races. I hope you've enjoyed a slightly calamitous set of races this week. If you have, don't go anywhere. Check out the video that's on screen now.